Well, yes, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very warm welcome, everybody. This here on Online Darts and Online Darts TV. Very just put our links live right now on Twitter. Share, give us a like, give us anything apart from negative feedback. Although we will take that as well. That'll be fantastic, and we're going to be with you till the next 4. The Ladbrokes Masters night 1. We have got a first round action underway from 7 o'clock GMT. We will tell you as well about a fantastic prize that you could win in the next few moments. I should introduce the rest of us here right now. My name is Jonathan. Joining us to talk some darts, Jack Garwood and Cam McFarlane. God, will come to you first. Here we go. Night 1 of the 2021 season, and it's the Masters. Yay.
There it is. There's the faux excitement we've been waiting for. The show started so brightly. Here's the new season, and Jar's personal hatred of the tournament comes out already.
Look, it has to happen. I'm not just going to suddenly change slating this tournament, but we move. Cam, you've stepped into the chair for Phil Bars this evening. I think he's preparing to get ready for the interviews tonight. So we've drafted you in as the Jordan North of Online Darts. Very well welcome, mate. We haven't actually seen you probably since the World Championships. How have you been? Are you well?
Really well, yeah. I mean, we've not seen each other face to face on here, but we've kept in contact, haven't we? As always. On being the Jordan North of the team.
It's great to have you with us, mate. It really, really is. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us. Right, we shall talk to you a little bit more now about this competition that we're going to be running in the chat room right now. What we want you to do is predict the winners of all 8 games this evening. You have got until 20 to 7 GMT, 6:40 GMT. So you've got around about 35 minutes to get your predictions in. If you win, you have to get all 8 right. We don't want the scores because that would just be ridiculous to do. If you manage to do that one, then fair play. But all we need is the 8 winners of the action tonight. So all 8 winners. If you correctly predict all 8 first round winners, we're going to give you this. It is a signed poster from the Target Dance launch. You can see there you've got Rob Cross, you've got Phil Taylor, you've got yourself Rowan van Barnevel's signature on there, loads and loads of great signatures on there. So that is what's available for you right now. If you get all of the correct answers right now from whoever wins tonight, you've got to get all 8 predictions right. You've got until 6:40 to do so. Give us your winners right now in the comment section right here on the live chat, and if you get them all right, we will be putting you, obviously sending you that poster. And obviously as well, if no one wins it, we will roll it over until tomorrow. If there's more than one winner, we'll have a random draw. That is how it works. But 6:40, get your entries in right now. Thank you very much to everybody that's joined us already in the chat room. This is Jonathan Bannon says, "Evening, gents. Jar, you don't look right without a dodgy looking shirt on." Look, I am the style icon of Online Darts. We know this, everybody. So look, I've gone with. Let's look at this, right? I've actually gone branding tonight with an Online Darts hoodie. Gob's did the same. Cam's gone with the black. So yeah, well done.
Not just a pretty face, me.
That's why we need you for the analysis. Right, let's talk about this tournament then, Cam, because the Masters, look, I give it a bad rep, but it is nice to have live darts back on our screens, and that is always a bonus when that happens. Phil Taylor and James Wade won the first two titles, obviously in 2013 and 14. Michael Van Gerwen then dominated the event ever since it moved to Milton Keynes, winning 5 straight. But then Peter Wright comes back and is the world champion in 2020 and then wins the Masters in 2020 as well. So it is a bit of a varied spray, but it seems like that maybe is this year that Peter Wright won it a bit of an anomaly, or will it be the new world order, if you like, and Michael Van Gerwen going to find it tough to reclaim that title?
It could be. I mean, like last year, it was a bit of a shock when Johnny Clayton put MVG out in the first round. But you could see it happening. Sort of a little test. You'll win it this year, so I do think it might be the new world order that we get a new winner.
Ooh, interesting call. We'll see what happens there. I don't know. I've got Michael Van Gerwen obviously winning it. What's that? Sorry?
That's definitely not Phil Bars tonight, is it? In a mask or anything? Straight in,
It's
straight out.
not. It's certainly not.
We haven't put him straight over the top with Cam's face, which is lovely to see. But obviously, we've talked. This is basically tonight going to be an extended Euro tour. But obviously, this is a very important night because winners here can get themselves into round 2 and potentially increase their shot at the Premier League, because none of the players in this top 24, apart from Dozzett and De Sousa, are in the Premier League lineup at the moment, and Van den Berg obviously as well.
Yeah, it's massive. I think that extra carrot that has been waved in front of the players' eyes for the potential last spot in the Premier League. I mean, it's not 100% that the winner of this will go into the Premier League, but it will put them in a very, very good position given that they've suspended the announcement. It's massive. And do you know what? Since Monday, since we did the live lounge, the more and more I'm starting thinking about it and we plotted our route, the more and more the seeds I think might actually be under threat. Because of the lack of Pro Tours, because of the lack of match practice darts the players have had for the last couple of weeks, that first round just gives those 9 to 24 seed players that might come through that chance to settle on the stage and get into a rhythm again. And I think that might catch some of the big boys napping, perhaps. Because
we talk about that, Cam, when the World Championships expanded to the first round, it had first 5 sets experience. We see a lot more shocks now in the second round because they've had that full experience. You expect that to happen in the Masters because even though the format increases slightly to the best of 19 legs, so you basically got to win a best of 11 legs twice, really, from Saturday and Sunday. Do you think that'll give them a bit of an advantage at all?
I think it will. I think having already been up there on the stage and played in the first round, it does give a little advantage to your higher seeds that wouldn't usually be in the tournament. And I think we could, like Gob said, I think we could see a few people under pressure and see a few shock sort of early exits.
Well, let's see what happens then as we go in. But before we start previewing the night, just remind you, thank you so much to everybody already in the chat room giving us their predictions. If you've just joined us, a reminder, you've got until 6:40 tonight to give us your thoughts on who will win. 8 games tonight. I want the winners of every single one of them in that chat room by 6:40, and you can be winning yourself a fantastic Target Darts poster. Before we get going, I want to talk about this, and Cam obviously jump in as well. A stats was recently put up on the PDC's Twitter feed from their stats guy, Okipedia, who is brilliant, by the way. If you don't know who he is, he's a fantastic, Christopher Kemp, he's fantastic at the stats. But it shows here, Gob, that all the stats here, that half the field had their best average ever in 2020. Now, obviously, we have to put that into perspective because we didn't have as many tournaments, we didn't have as many opportunities in front of crowds. But even so, everyone talks about the standards of darts dropping. That's clearly not the case, is it?
Obviously not for half of the field. I think the ones that have dropped or didn't have their best year last year of the 5 years they've reported on there, you can see why, or you could have predicted why. They're all players that had dips in form, Rob Cross not matching up, Michael Van Gerwen not the same player because of the tinkering of equipment. You look at the rest of the field, and they're the players that are in that top 8 or top 10 or top 12 that are actually sort of clinging on a bit. That we've spoken already this year that this is a big year for them. The players that have had their best average are the ones that have shot up the rankings, have put the time in, and have gone to work and really made something of darts last year. The big thing for those players will be, can they keep that going this year if and when we return to playing TV tournaments in front of crowds? Because for half of the field to have their averages that high without crowds means that must be having some sort of significant effect. So can they keep that going once there are thousands of screaming, slightly inebriated punters in the room?
I'll tell you what, we can't wait for that day. Trust me on that one for now. Like I said, a very good evening to everybody in the chat room. We will try and get to some of your questions. If you do have your questions, we'll try and get there, but we've got so much to preview. So let's do that right now. We'll come to you first on this one, Cam. We talked about it long enough. Let's talk about it. And the first game, the very first game of 2021, television darts and darts everywhere, is Ian White against Mensur Suljovic. Not necessarily the best game that I would have on there first, but we move. We'll take anything at this point. This is an interesting one, I think, Cam, because both of them went out early doors of the Worlds. White losing to Kim Huybrechts, and then obviously Mensur Suljovic and Gary coming out against that 4-3 game. We all know what happened there. But this is an interesting stat I've found. Ian White has never beaten Mensur Suljovic on the telly box. How important will that be potentially for White?
It could be massive. I think we've seen it over and over again with Ian White, the trouble he has on the big stage and on TV. Yeah, that was something I was going to mention. The fact he hasn't beaten him on TV, and he's also lost. I think he's got a 10-6 losing record. You've probably got to make Mensur favourite.
Well, this is the point that I was going to make, God, because obviously the betting markets currently, as it stands with the title sponsors Ladbrokes, pretty much show that that's the reason why. But Ian White on the telly, we know the record and how bad he's been, but Suljovic has won 8 of the last 11 against Diamond White. But White loves the format in this format between a Pro Tour and a Euro Tour as well. And both of them went out round 1 of the Masters last year. So this is a big step up. This is a big chance for both of them here, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a chance for them to settle on stage darts. Neither really performed to their top level last year. I wish I'd known the head-to-head record before I laid my accumulator tonight, because I have backed Ian White. Thanks for after I'd already been and pressed confirm. Nothing like doing your research in our position, but yeah. Look, I think despite the head-to-head, despite the TV record, I've still got a good feeling about Ian White. I don't think Mensur's the same player that we've seen for the last 3 to 4 years. The way that he resorted to what he had to against Gary, the fact that he's always struggled with confidence levels, even when he was winning the Champions League, he was in the semi-final and the final. The interview was going, "Can you win this? No, I can't win it. No, I can't win it." And for me, he doesn't look as comfortable. He doesn't look like he's firing in the big averages as often anymore. The big checkouts aren't quite there. I think Ian White wins this one, which is why I've got that in my accumulator, which means it's dead in the water. Never back the early kickoff, folks.
Yes, that is true. You never back the early kickoff, as we all know. But I tell you what, Cam, I mean, you haven't given us your prediction in terms of the win at this one. And as we talked about, the White record on TV against Suljovic is horrendous, but it's got to start somewhere.
It has got to start somewhere, but at this stage, is it going to start somewhere? Like, it's been going on for a long time now. I'm taking Mensur to win this game 100%.
Well, this is an interesting one, because at the moment, I say Ian White's currently 8-11 on to win it. Mensur Suljovic is 11-10. That's a nice little bet, I think, actually, for Mensur to That's a good price if you're going to go and back him on that one. No, Guntash says, is the actual match going to be streamed on here? Unfortunately, not. We don't have the rights for that one. Unfortunately, ITV definitely do. Certainly in the United Kingdom. So unfortunately, we won't be streaming on it. But of course, you can watch it ITV4 from 7:00 GMT in the UK, or via your local broadcaster on PDC. .tv right now if you want to go and find that, or of course if you don't have the broadcaster you can go and watch it on PDC TV unless you're in the Netherlands, I believe, in which case you've got to watch it on RTL7. But let's move it on, Gob, and arguably this is the match of the night for me. Glenn Durran against Mervyn King. This one could be anything.
Massive. Two players that got a lot of time, a lot of adulation for. They had very, very good 2020s between them. So Glenn won the Premier League, and then we all know that he struggled with COVID a little bit after that, which sort of cut him down in his stride. I think Merv was just solid throughout 2020. He looked a bit rejuvenated. We know he went away in that time to work a standard delivery job. I think it was for Amazon. But he seems to be enjoying his darts again. There was a lot less moaning from Merv last year. Didn't get injured as often, which we've seen him struggle with over the past couple of years. And a settled Mervyn King is a worry for anybody. But this is a real intriguing game tonight. Two very, very consistent finishers on the outer ring, and that could provide a high quality contest.
Definitely. I think, to me, Cam, this is an interesting one because those are obviously winning the Premier League, the biggest unranked tournament there is, definitely. Mervyn King was one leg away from finally ending that TV hoodoo against Michael van Gerwen last year in the Players' Championship finals, unfortunately losing 11-10. And obviously, he blew, there's no way about it, he blew the Masters final a few years back against James Wade. I have to say that, otherwise God will shoot me. Serious note, though, Cam. This is a big test for Merv tonight, because who wouldn't want to see Mervyn King back in the Premier League? Anybody in the comments, tell me right now if they want to see Mervyn King back in the Premier League, because I'm sure we all do.
I absolutely love to see it. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? And I think, I don't think he'll win the tournament, and I think he'd have to do to get in the Premier League. But 50-1 is a very tasty price based on how he's been playing recently. It'd be a great game. I think it's probably, is it going too far to say it'd be an upset if Merv beat Glenn tonight? I don't know. It's probably the one I fancy as the underdog of winner. But looking at the odds, to be honest, they've got it absolutely even. But it's going to be a great game, isn't it?
After the years they had, I think if Glenn hadn't had COVID and struggled with the back end of the year, he looked a lot better at the World Championships, but still not quite at that level.
Yeah.
Top level Glenn at the Premier League was arguably the best player in the world for 6 weeks. He was absolutely superb. Dropped off significantly after that, and King was just solid all the way through. So the fact that they're on as even by the bookies does not surprise me at all, and I wouldn't be wanted to stick my head out if I was either of them either.
Well, this is the thing, because obviously they actually, weirdly enough, well, before we get onto that, very, very quickly, I'm just going to say this. They actually went out of the Worlds on the same night. Dozer losing to Dirk van Dijvenbode 4-3, and King losing 4-1 to the eventual winner, world number one and world champion, Gerwyn Price. I have to say that every time, just to remind Gob. This is the first time they've actually met on television, actually, to be fair, Dozer and King in the PDC. And the winner gets Rob Cross. Dozer's Masters debut, obviously we talked about King before. You've got to say at this point, Gob, whoever wins this game has not got a bad draw second time round. Same with whoever wins between Ian White and Mental Sudovic. Getting Nathan Aspinall is not a bad draw at the moment.
No, I think that's right. I think that's something that we looked at on Monday on the live lounge once again, that actually in terms of the way the draw split, we all believe that the bottom half of the draw is considerably more difficult to move through. If Rob Cross turns up, Rob Cross can beat anybody in the world. We know that, but his form hasn't been great. There's been signs that his action is getting better and better. We don't know if he's going to tinker with equipment again, like he has done the last couple of years at this event. Any Rob Cross could turn up, which is why I just think the winner of this has got a great opportunity to progress through. Eventually, that runs into a quarterfinal with Gerwyn Price, and we've spoken how actually the best chance to beat him would be early on in the tournament. We don't know how much time he's actually spent practicing. We know he's been doing a lot of building work and that sort of thing on his own house. So that draw could open up very, very quickly, very nicely for one of these two players.
So yeah, Cam, I've gone king. I'm about to say I've gone king. Sorry, I've gone Duzzer. Gob has gone king. You basically get the casting vote on this one. Who's your pick for tonight's big? Well, this is a big game. I can't believe it's on second, to be honest.
I know. Yeah, Merv's my pick. I'm taking Merv to beat Duzzer.
Do you know what? As I've gone throughout the week, and I know I said Duzzer will potentially make a semi-final, but as I've gone through the week, I just don't know. But this is the thing about this tournament. We just don't know where it's going. But one thing's for sure, I think this is definitely going to a last-look decider. Watch it now go 6-0 one of those two ways. Just in case you are joining us, a very warm definitely. Just in case you are joining us, a very warm welcome to the Warcom. This is, of course, our preview show as we look ahead to night one of the Ladbrokes Masters. Don't forget, though, you might see in the live chat right now people giving us all their predictions for the games tonight. If you want to get involved, you can do. You can get yourself a signed Target Darts poster if you get all 8 predictions correct. Right now, just put all your thoughts in there, put all your predictions in there. You don't need to give us scores, just who wins those games if you win it. If you get all 8 right, you could be winning yourself a Target Darts poster, depending, of course, on how many people get 8 right. If no one wins, it will roll over tomorrow. It's a rock and roll over, as they used to say on SMTV Live. Speaking of SMTV Live, man from the Northeast is Chris Dobie. That's a bit of a niche link, but we'll go with it. And he takes on the Wild. Thank you. That was definitely not planned, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Dimitri van den Berg against Chris Dobie is our next game. And Cam, another debut pair of debutants, and another time where it's the first meeting of the two of them on television. Big game, this. Very big game. I picked this one out as possibly the game of the night. I think it could be an absolute cracker. Yeah, a surprisingly close sort of head-to-head record as well, with being Dimmy only 4-3 ahead as well. You'd think, based on obviously what they've both done in terms of Dimmy being the match play champion and Dobie still looking for that first sort of big win, you'd think he probably would have a better head-to-head record against him, but I think it'll be a real good game. It's an interesting one, I think, God, because, you know, Dobie went out round 3 of the Worlds, but we saw some signs there against Daryl Gurney. But this has been the problem, I think, for Dimmy for a little while, is that when he's quick and when he's pacey, he can really play well. We saw what happened in the Grand Slam when he hit the record average in the group stage. But then Dave Chisnall made a bit of a comment about how slow he was against him in the World Championships. And there's been other occasions where he slowed the pace down a little bit and trying to take a little bit too much time. He's a world match play champion and he will be in the Premier League. We know that. But this is a chance here for Dimmy to really impose himself before he goes off for that potential knee operation as well.
Yeah, it's massive. And to be honest, I expected a big 2020 from Dobie. Didn't quite materialise. Had a good showing at the Worlds and lost out to a very good Daryl Gurney once again. For me, this match was all about Dimmy until we understood that he was off for his operation pretty much as soon as this tournament's over, and therefore it depends how motivated he is, how much practice he's actually been doing. Has he put a load of practice in to pick up the prize money for this and then give himself a nice break, or has he just been a little bit demotivated, just a bit of a hangover from the Worlds, get this tournament out of the way, then get back fit, have his operation, and then start to practice over again? Because it's just not going to be there the same way it is the first day he tries to stand up on that knee properly. It's going to take time to be able to stand on it for long periods of time and build up the practice and the strength in it. So, yeah, until we found that out, this game was all about Dimmy for me. It still could be, still wearing the brace as far as you know and that sort of thing, but I expect Dobie to get a bit closer now. I think so too. I mean, Dobie's yet to make a win actually a PDC title. Cam, the winner of this game, goes into round 2. Both of us have gone to Dimitri van den Berg. On the live lounge, your turn to now pick where you're going with this game as well. Last met, of course, the Summer Series, weirdly enough, in this format, and Dobie won that one. Yep, Dobie won the last meeting, but I'm with you two on this one. I think Dimmy will get through it, but I do think it'll be a cracking game. I think it could be really close. It'll be interesting to see what happens there between the Dream Maker and Hollywood, whose dreams will be crushed and who potentially will be going on into boot camp
over in Hollywood. Who knows? Moving on, fourth game of the night, Christopher Tyski against Simon Whitlock. Cam, will come to you first on this one. I remember saying last time that these two met that I thought Whitlock would beat Christopher Tyski. Wasn't too long ago when those two met. And Christopher Tyski not only beat Simon Whitlock, he whitewashed him.
He did. And I was very much in the Whitlock camp for that one as well. As we all know, I tipped him to get to the final of the Worlds, which went really well after he got
bold predictions. I like it, though. I like it.
Yep. It was a bold one, but yeah, we saw what happened. He really didn't turn up on that day against Ratajski. And he didn't have a great do in the Masters last year either. So is he going to turn it round? I think he might. And then Peter Wright in round two for whoever gets through it. Yeah, I've got a sneaky little feeling that Whitlock might just win this one.
It's an interesting one because Ratajski got his 8-13 on to win this, where Simon Whitlock is 13-10. But his TV record last year in particular, Whitlock, was absolutely superb. He beat Michael van Gerwen 3 times. Admittedly, once he beat him, he then fell out. But still, he managed to get the job done 3 times over a man who had his number for years and years and years. Is this the moment where Simon Whitlock catapults himself back up into the top 16?
Possibly. I think the way that he went out of the Worlds was quite disappointing at the hands of Christoph. There was a little bit of rejuvenation there, and those 3 wins over Van Gerwen were massive, but he still had to then take that next step and that opportunity of knocking out, at the time, the world number 1 and going deeper into the tournament. So there's still going to be questions around Whitlock. He needs to put a full performance together. The performances over Van Gerwen was an exceptional period of scoring where he broke the record for 180s. Then he had an exceptional day on the outer ring. He needs to put them 2 together. And if he does that consistently, then he can push back up into the top 16. For this game, it's all about how Ratajski finishes in the first 3 legs for me. Last year, he got very tetchy on TV and missed bucket loads of doubles in something that he was very, very consistent with when he's picking up Pro Tour titles. If he starts slowly again, Whitlock will punish him, and you don't want to be chasing him. If he starts solid, at least 2-1 either way, I can see Ratajski still nicking this one.
Well, this is the thing, Cam, because Ratajski obviously won Players' Championship 4 early on in 2020. Who do you think is going to take this one and face Peter Wright in round 2?
I do think Whitlock will. I think, okay, he was really poor in that game when he went out of the Worlds. But other than that, towards the back end of last year, well, the second half of last year, he was really good on TV, as we said. Like the wins over Van Gerwen, the way he played there. If he gets anywhere near that level, I think he might just blow Christoph away a little bit. Especially as, like we said, Christoph missed a couple of doubles early on. Then I think it could be over fairly quickly.
God, I presume you're going with your eagle. There's no doubt about that, is there?
Nah, stick with the man, stick with the boy.
hardly a surprise. Right,
surprising
let's
as
move
always.
it on then and talk about. Well, absolutely right. Let's move it on and talk about Michael Smith against Adrian Lewis. Cam, this is no other way about it. This is a massive game. I.e., either Michael Smith lays down a bit of a marker, or Adrian Lewis could potentially be right back in the conversation for the Premier League, and that is something we didn't think we'd be saying a year ago.
No, we didn't. It's a huge game for both. Both had a really poor showing at the Worlds and went out very early on, same round, both of them in round 2, weren't they? I mean, it's a huge game for both off the back of that. Obviously, they met in the quarters of this last year as well, with Smith winning 10-6. Obviously, he got to the final last year and probably should have won it, if anything. So he obviously likes the tournament. I think he might have too much for Lewis, but Lewis is absolutely desperate for a win, isn't he? Like, he can't have another year like last year, otherwise he's going to be dropping further and further down the rankings, and then where's he go?
Well, that is not just Cam, but Farlane that thinks that. Sky Sports' Stuart Pike told Phil Bars earlier on this week exactly the same thing, that it could be a bad year for AD Lewis, could see him drop out of sport altogether.
As for Adrian, one of the nicest people that you would ever meet. You know, do anything for you. If you were down to your last 10p, he'd give you 100 quid and say, "There you go." Even if that was his last money. You know, he's generous. He's kind. He's a lovely guy. Perhaps too nice. No, I don't know. But you know, he just hasn't shown for me enough in his game to suggest that he can reach those levels again. You know, I'd love him to be watching this, and I'd love him to say, "Right, I'm going to prove you wrong," and win a big one and say, "There you go, Pikey, I proved you wrong." But you know, it's difficult to see. This is for me. This is the year. You know, because you know as well as I do. I mean, you're addicted to the order of merit and all those rankings. But another poor year, and he's gone. He's out of the top 32. Right. And then, as we see with a lot of players over the years, it becomes extremely difficult.
Exactly. You see there, Gob. It's a huge year for Eddie Lewis. Obviously, we talked about Michael Smith there with Cam, that he won 2 titles, obviously back-to-back Winter Series, only 2 years for a title. It will be 2 years since Eddie Lewis won a title. Obviously, he won one back in 2019. Made the semi-final at the Winter Series. Is the signs there, and can he overturn that defeat that he had to Smith that Cam mentioned to set up that second round match against Gary Anderson?
I don't know. I mean, it's 191 days since he last won on TV. That's a long time without a win for a former 2-time world champion in front of the cameras. Absolutely mad.
Sorry, what? How many days?
191 days since Lewis last won on TV. Even with the break after the Worlds, that's still an awful long time, right? And
that is a long time.
We can sit into the cows and tell you how good his action is, how good he is when he's in full flow, how good the man was when he's picking up 2 world titles and competing with Phil Taylor day in, day out. But there is a lot of people say, and there are those glimpses of what he can do, and there's those 12 dart legs he throws in, 180s are flowing. It's absolutely superb, but he's not doing that for enough legs in a match anymore. It's not even for patches of games. He's doing it for little parts of the games. He'll put together a 2 or 3 leg burst, and then it just looks like he's got no additional level. He's worked so hard on his action that I think he's lost the best thing about him, in that when he was winning world titles, he was carefree. The action was so smooth. There wasn't any thought processing where his elbow needs to be, where his release needs to be, as he rolled his dart back in his hand enough. And I think all of those thoughts, like in golf, when you have too many swing thoughts, they're counterproductive to Lewis just being able to throw good darts. And I think there's so much going on in his head whenever he's at the Oki now, because of the poor run, because of the action, like I've just mentioned, that it's just incredibly difficult for him to put together a consistent run or a consistent match, do it for a couple of legs and then drop off when the pressure's back on again. So I'm full agreement with Cam, full agreement with Pikey that Lewis is in for a massive year. And the minute he realises that or acknowledges that, probably in for an even worse year.
So you're saying that Michael Smith will win this game?
I think so, yeah. Look, Bully Boy is approaching the Terry Jenkins sort thing. Will he ever get over the line? He's still young enough, still got loads and loads of time to do it, but the longer and longer that goes on, the more of a mental block that becomes. But we've seen players get over those humps in the last couple of years. Whitlock in his head-to-head record against Michael van Gerwen, Dave Chisnell doing exactly the same. Peter Wright broke his World Championship duck in a final against MVG. They're all things that have happened in the last 18 months. There's no reason why it couldn't happen now, but the longer it goes on, and the more and more we say this, the longer it goes on, the longer we're sat here going, could this be Smith's time? Could this be Michael's time? Can he break that duck? The less likely it's going to happen for me. But in this match, he beats Eddie Lewis.
Cam, would you agree?
Yeah, I do. I really like Eddie Lewis. He's such a nice guy, and like we said, I think he needs a little bit of that. Just get back to basics. Stop trying so hard. Just sort of get a bit more natural with the action, like it used to be, and maybe that bit of arrogance he had when he came on the stage back in the day, like when you watched him throwing that no-look 180 against Manly years ago. That's still one of my favourite videos of all time. Like, he needs that bit of arrogance again and that bit of just belief in himself. And I don't think he's got it right now, and I don't think he's got enough to beat Smith right now.
We'll move it on then, and we'll talk about Daryl Gurney against Jeffrey Deswan in a second. Just to remind you that you've got 5 minutes left to enter our competition for the chance to win a signed Target Darts poster. It is available right now on the live chat. A lot of people have entered, so thank you very much indeed. You've got your chance right now to enter it. All we need is the winners of all 8 games tonight. If you get them all right, you could be in with a chance of winning the Target poster that is on the screen right now. Don't forget as well that you need to get all 8 right to be in with a chance of winning. If you don't win it, if no one wins it, it will roll over to tomorrow. If we do have more than one winner, we potentially will have a draw to do it, and we'll announce it on the walk-on tomorrow from 12. Let's move it on though quickly before we get ourselves over time and potentially into the broadcast, which you don't want to do, which is Daryl Gurney against Jeffrey Deswan next. Cam, we'll start with you on this one. In theory, the way that both players are going at the moment, this should only be going one way. It should really be a no contest.
You think so? This is where I'm going to drop in my, again, bold prediction, like I always have. I'm taking Daryl Gurney to win the tournament. I know that's a bit of a brave shout, but I really liked what we saw of him at the Worlds. He seems like he's in a really good place, and I think he'll win pretty comfortably against Jeffrey. I think it could be maybe not quite as one-sided as the last time they met on TV when he beat Jeffrey 6-0, but I think it'll be comfortable. And I think against Chizzy in round 2, it's going to be another game where he's got a real good chance.
Might be me that might be lost then. Gob, you might have to try and take over at this point because I can't hear a damn thing. But there we go. Right, Gob, have you got to take over at this point?
Cam just said Gurney's going to win the tournament. That was what our colleague here just said.
I did say that.
Gurney to win the tournament.
Yep. We know I like a bold prediction. We know I like an outsider.
He had a bit of a resurgence at the World Championships. He looked a lot better, a lot more composed, and a lot more settled up on the hockey. It was a Gurney we hadn't really seen throughout all of 2020. And yeah, he just looked a bit more solid right up until the Gezi game, and even in the Gezi game, to be fair, I personally think he should have beat Price. Where are we going next? He looked good, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Whether he goes on to win the entire tournament, like you just suggested, is a completely different matter. When you've got the triple threat or the big 4, whichever one you want, depending on if you feel Bar's trying to wind a couple of people up or not. Personally, I don't think he beats MVG or Wright or Price or even Gary over that distance yet. But there is hope for a solid progression for Gurney this year. Is Jar still not there?
I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
I lost you for a second at the end there as well. We can hear you,
yes,
yeah. You're fine.
Oh, marvellous. Okay, well, my AirPods have decided they're not going to work, so that's always a bonus. So I've now lost contact with my producer, which is always a fantastic thing when that happens. But we will move it on. Gob, just please tell me where we were, because I completely lost everything then. I lost all connection to everything. I lost everything to the world.
Cam went bold and said Gurney's going to win the tournament. Bit bold, bit silly for me. Don't get me wrong, I think he beats Deswan, but I don't think he beats the big 4. I just think that they are going to... We said it last year, how we thought they were going to dominate for the year. I think they do this year. I think Gary sneaks his way back into that top echelon, and instead of it being MVG, Price and Wright, I think Anderson really does push it back in there. So yeah, that's where we got to. As for Jeffrey Deswan, not the best year last year. He hasn't really kicked on. He's another one who's had a good performance or a good patch on TV. Saw it in the match play 2019. Superb run. Hasn't really delivered again since. So big year for him, but back in Gurney as well as Cam to get over the line in this match at least.
So I'm going to go Gurney. I presume you're going Gurney, Gob. And well, Cam's obviously going Gurney because he's got he's backing him for the tournament. A reminder, of course, the only time they've actually met on television between these two was in the Players' Championship Finals of 2017, and Gurney won that one 6-0. That was the first time I actually went down to Minehead actually for an event, which is always good. Lines are now closed. So thank you very much indeed if you have entered our competition. We've got a load of entries in there. We will announce the winner tomorrow on the walk-on if we need to, or if we need to do a draw. And obviously, of course, as well, at 12 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to be on with you. Let's move it on very, very quickly and talk about the last two games. Jose de Sousa against Johnny Clayton in a rematch, Cam, of the two and the European Championship not long ago. That one, obviously, was 10-6 to the Ferret. De Sousa starting slow might be a bit of a problem for him in this very short format.
Well, yeah, you can't turn up and lose the first few legs because you're pretty much out at that stage if you do. I think this will be another really good game. Obviously, they both went out early-ish on in the Worlds, but they both had a really good year last year. Obviously, Jose winning the Grand Slam and then Clayton winning the World Cup with Price as well there. Really good game. Should be a really close one. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning yet. I will wait until we've had everyone else's say on it before I step off the fence. But yeah, it should be a cracker.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's hear from Johnny Clayton before talking with Phil Bars earlier on in the build-up to the Masters, who couldn't even, at one stage, believe that he was going to be in it.
Touching on the Masters, I had a Zoom last week with Mr. Webster, and he'd let me into a little secret that you didn't know you were in it until he told you, did you?
No. No. I knew that was coming up. Yeah, he spoke and he said the words were something like, "You're a jammy git that you're in the Masters," even though I'd fallen out of the top 16. I said, "Don't be daft, Mark. Obviously, I'm the one that can't count, not you." And it's the top 16. And he said, "No, Johnny, it's moved to top 24." So I had a smile on my face. Do you know what I mean?
He did. He tipped me off and said, "Just ask Johnny about him not knowing he was in the Masters."
Yeah, I get. Yeah. I generally didn't know. No.
To be honest, we didn't know Johnny was in the Masters either. The move to 24 players caught us completely off guard. But here we are talking about the first round as it is. How far can Johnny go? Is where I'm going to go next.
I'll let Cam go on that one. Why not? Because he's basically sat on the fence. I'll let him go first before I say my piece on it.
Are we talking how far he can go in this tournament or throughout the year?
Yes.
In the tournament.
We'll go for this tournament. I don't know if we've got time to discuss how far he can go in the year or beyond that. But
I was going to say, I thought it was a bit of a deep question.
That would open up a lot of avenues. But yeah, how far can he go in this tournament? How do you see him getting over the line now in this one against last year's Slam champion? I think he might just get through on this one. I'm stepping off the fence. No, he's going to win tonight. I'm standing up there and saying it, and that's as far as he goes. I know he plays the man he beat in the first round last year, but no, I'm not having him beating him again.
No, do you know what? Look, I can't say that he's going to win it, Gob, because obviously I've got MVG winning the bloody tournament because that's what he does normally. But this is a big moment, I think, because look, this is a big moment for De Sousa as well because he's a Grand Slam winner. People will talk about it and people will say, that he won in not necessarily bad circumstances, but he won when there was no crowd there and they'll be questioning it and whatever. So it's a big moment for him as well. But Clayton, I think, has definitely got half a chance of going far in this tournament because he's already beaten MVG on that stage. And we don't know what darts MVG is going to use. I don't know whether MVG is in trouble against whoever comes through tonight, but De Sousa or Clayton has got half a chance. I'm going to say that Clayton can only get to round 2. Same though with De Sousa. It's going to be tight, but I think Clayton comes through this game.
interesting you both on that. For me, this one's all about Jose. I like Johnny. I got a lot of time for Johnny, but I just feel like his range is just that little bit wider around the treble 20. He slips into the 5, he slips into the 1 just that little bit more often. I think those 80s and 90s will cost him when Jose's hitting those solid tons and those steady 1 treble visits without the minor dart next to it. Interesting that you mentioned not being able to count in the interview with Mark Webster and Phil as well. That's something that will be talked about a lot in this game throughout the night. But yeah, I've got Jose for this one, and I'm going against the grain of you two. Although, as you're going to drop the line in a minute, you never underestimate a ferret.
No.
You know it.
And also, like, how often do we all agree?
Very rarely.
Never.
Let's be honest about it. And if we do all agree, then normally our pick goes out. So that's not what normally happens.
Oh, 100%.
We did say we were going to go on to 6. We did say we were going to go on to 6:45 GMT, as you'd expect with us. We overran because we need to talk about so much. But let's talk about the final game, though, very, very quickly. And it is a potential game of the night, this one, God, between Joe Cullen and Stephen Bunting, both of them giving fantastic accounts themselves at the World Championships. Cullen talking about that 4-3 loss to MVG, obviously in round 4 in one of the games of the tournament. Stephen Bunting making a semi-final, 6-4, ridiculous effort from the Bullet.
Yeah, I mean, we were questioning the move to 24 players, or a couple of us have, and actually the more and more we've gone on tonight, we've looked at 4 or 5 of these ties and gone, could be game of the night, could be game of the night, could be game of the night, and that's before the top 8 players in the world come in. So darts is getting there. It's got the depth now that we can sit here and talk about good quality matches up down to the 24, even to the 32. You look at the players that aren't here, that are the next 8 players along, they can provide good quality matchups. For this one, both had resurgent years. Cullen picking up that Euro Tour last year. The change of equipment seems to have suited him, as does Bunting. Bunting's equipment seems to be setting up in nicely. He's on generation 4 now, I think, with his target darts. Looks brilliant. Both have had mental struggles, I think. Bunting has spoken to us in the past about using a sports psychologist. The losses that Cullen suffered on TV, that Gary Anderson match play game, the World Championships against Michael van Gerwen now, those are tough to take and tough to get over. So he's got that mental struggle to get over as well. But in terms of the way they both played last year, in this short race, I'm taking Cullen.
Well, before we go and get your pick, though, Cam, let's talk about Joe Cullen as well. You mentioned the Euro Tour win for him. He actually said last year in an interview with Phil Barr that dropped a couple of days ago that it was the best year of his life.
You know, the majority, probably 99% of the comments I saw, like you say, on social media was positive, you know, great game. But you get the odd one, or you bottled it, you've this, you've that. And I've spoken to people close to me, and I've bottled games in the past. You know, I think every professional has, whether they admit it or not. And I didn't bottle it. I probably tried too hard. I sort of thought to myself, I've been on the stage for the best part of 2 hours, throwing everything at him, and he's still there. Don't blow it. But by putting that sort of element of doubt in your mind, don't blow it. It makes you maybe tense up a little bit. And obviously, Michael, his first 3 darts at that last leg was a 180, so you're straight under it then. But like you say, the interaction it got on social media, and you know, the couple of good things have happened to me since then, you know, like additional sponsors and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely plenty of positives.
Interesting mindset from Cullen, I think. He talks about it pretty openly there, but actually acknowledging that in that moment that he tried too hard means that the next time we see him in a similar situation, we don't quite know which Cullen we're going to get. Obviously, that's the same for everything in sport, but how will we handle that? And this has got the potential of going close, hasn't it, Cam?
It definitely has. I mean, that game against MVG, like he said, he absolutely didn't bottle it. If anything, it was just that last leg of being bang under pressure when MVG piles in the 180 and just trying so hard after being up there for so long, just physically and mentally exhausted, and he just couldn't quite get it done. But he certainly didn't bottle it. It wasn't like he missed 10 darts at a double to win it. But they have a couple of darts at the bullseye in the match. That was it to win it. It was the best I've ever seen him play, probably the best he's ever played, and probably definitely the best game of the tournament for me. Yeah, yeah, the two surprise sort of packages of the worlds, if anything, like in Cullen and Bunting going head to head now, and should be a really, really good game. I think Cullen gets over the line as well as Bunting played to get to the semis. I think over the short format, I think Cullen will beat him, and then it sets up an absolute cracker again against Gerwin Price in round 2.
Certainly does, Gob. Are you going to go with this? Because obviously Bunting made the quarterfinals, the 2019 Masters. So last time he was here, made the last 16 of the UK Open. We barely really talked about the Bullet ever since that semi-final run. He's catapulted himself right back in contention for the top 16.
Yeah, he's a former world champion. He's an exceptional talent on his day. His debut year in the PDC was superb. He did all the right things and has sort of drifted a little bit, but that run last year and the match play before that, we saw signs that the quality is still there. This sport is all about consistency. You two can both hit every single target on the board the same way that any professional dart player can, but they'll do it far more regularly, far more consistently, under far more pressure. So every player can do it. Every player can take it, every finish. Every player can hit the 180. It's just how regularly they do it. And Bunting seems to be up in that consistency. His practice seems to be going really well. The area of the country he lives in is a bit of a hotbed. Northern darts is where a lot of the pros are based now, and that can only be a good thing to keep pushing each other on.
Certainly the case. It's going to be very, very fun tonight, getting back to darts live on the box. Cam McFarlane, Jack Gobber, thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. In fact, you both will be sticking around, and I'll be moving out, and Luke Pickering will be joining you for the pod tonight.
Yep, can't wait.
Just what the people need. More of my voice.
Your
Absolutely.
voice and my
Everybody
voice.
wants
And
to
then
go.
these two, and then add Luke's into that as well. We're gonna need translators for the pod tonight.
That's a very, very good point, to be fair. But yes, we've definitely got a pod for you. It'll be out for you in the morning to listen to wherever you get your podcasts from. We're available Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, any other good podcast provider that you have. It will be on there for you. Just search the Online Darts Lounge and we will be there for you in the morning. Don't forget that we'll have a report for you of today's action and tonight's action on onlinedarts.com as soon as we can after play. And in fact, once we're done, which we're about to be, go over to onlinedarts.com and join Brad Pate, so he'll keep you company throughout the night with a live blog with analysis on all of the action as we head into night 1 of the Ladbrokes Masters. Don't forget as well that Phil Bars will be doing interviews and they'll be popping up here on our YouTube channel, so make sure that you subscribe, because that way then you'll be the first to watch all the videos throughout the night from all 8 winners. From myself, Jonathan Theaton, Jack Garwood and Cam McFarlane, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on the Walk-On. We are about to get ourselves underway. It is night 1 of the Ladbrokes Masters. Enjoy it, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Gob, Lee and Scott will be joining you from midday for the Walk-On. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.